when I got arrested for something that I'm still claiming today, which is the truth, that I'm innocent of.
16 years and you're claiming your innocence.
I ended up getting convicted of life without the possibility of parole, and it held the death penalty. So you can only imagine. I almost passed out in the court when they said, hey, so you know this is a death penalty case. I said, I'm only 18. What do you mean?
Information also emerging about a riot at Donovan State Prison that prompted a lockdown and huge medical response.
The Menendez brothers, who killed their parents, are now housed in the same unit of a San Diego prison.
Donovan State Prison is home to some infamous prisoners, including the Menendez brothers. Sirhan, who assassinated Senator Robert Kennedy.
Senator Kennedy had been shot.
And Tex Watson, a well-known member of the Manson family.
Manson said, hey, I want you to go out and kill these people, to go up to this place and kill the one that is there.
Maybe can we go down the line and say our names again, and maybe how long we've been here for, if you're willing to say that?
So my name is Craig. I've been at RJD for 1 year, and I've been incarcerated for 16, and I go home in 2 months.
My name's Savi, and I've been at RJD since early 2022, but I've been incarcerated for almost 12 years.
My name is JC. I've been at Donovan for almost a year. In a few days, it'll be a year. And I've been incarcerated for over 16 years.
I'm Unique. I've been here since 2022 or 21-ish. I've been incarcerated for about 16 years. Yeah, that's it.
What's your name again?
My name's Savi.
Nice to meet you, Savi. Thanks for talking with me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for the opportunity. I appreciate you. And when they told us, like, oh, this guy, Matt Cullen, is going to come and talk to you, we're like, who the hell's that? Can you tell us, like, because it's not like we have access to, like, YouTube and shit like that. So, you know, we're like, oh, like, who is he? Oh, he's a documentarian. Like, oh, that sounds fun. When I came to prison, I looked like a Southern Mexican, like, bald-headed, tiny, like, 130 pounds soaking wet, like all muscular and working out. Like I was trying my best to look like a dude when I wasn't a dude. I grew up like super Christian conservative values, and so obviously the way I look, like that's not really gonna match up with that. So like everybody was always telling me like, you need to, the clothes I would wear would be like really flamboyant for like somebody who's in that Christian background. And my parents would be like, you need to look like a dude, you need to look like a guy, you know, those look like girl pants, they fit so tight or whatever, that shirt's purple, like purple's for girls, earrings for girls. So I'm like, okay, everybody wants me to be a dude. I started like doing like testosterone, like steroids, to try to make myself look like a dude. I didn't realize that I was trying to treat my gender dysphoria, because nobody could ever really figure out what was going on, like up here and in here. So I'm like, dude, there's like something fucking wrong. Like,
what were the feelings? Like, what if you can describe that? What does that feel like?
Just really scared, really ashamed, like heavy shame, heavy guilt. That's been like my biggest struggle working on, is like dealing with that shame, feeling like I let down like my Christian family, like everybody, like my whole family's Christian.
My relationship with religion is so interesting, because I think there's so much beauty in religion, but I hear stories like that all the time with my series, and it makes me feel some type of way about religion, you know, especially for people in our community, because it can be very harmful.
This is Matt Cullen. He's a documentary filmmaker.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You have all signed a release for us to use in the court. You correct? If you've not signed a release, you need to talk to me. Have you signed a release? Yeah, you signed a release, Scanlon. You've not signed a release? So I need you to not be in the film portion. You're welcome to participate in the group in a second if you sign the release. Yeah, the yard is releasing, so we want to move quickly.
Okay, got it.
This is my third time being here with residents in different yards, and every time is memorable because they're just so genuine and real. They're often hurt, but so hopeful. I mean, it's so inspiring what many have been through, and yet how they hold on to their faith, as though, you know, other people have wronged them, but not God.
Do you feel like there's a lot of undoing you have to do in terms of their religion? And, you know, because a lot of them have mentioned growing up religious, and, you know, then when they realize they're gay or trans, they have to deal with that. Do you feel like there's a lot of mental undoing to show them that religion can be beautiful and accepting of all?
Absolutely. There's varying levels of undoing, but I guess what I've found in many of the conversations here is that they've been able to do that. That even though they've been told they're going to go to hell or their families disown them, they somehow have held on to that God hasn't disowned them.
Do you believe that God loves everybody?
Absolutely. There's no way God doesn't. That's what God is love. Now, other people won't say that, but they're wrong.
Totally.
How I think that, and the reason I believe that, is that Jesus said the greatest commandment is all about love. And so we have to read the whole Bible. We have to interpret our whole faith experience through a lens of love. If it isn't loving, it has nothing to do with God. 2 commandments. Everything is all summed up into, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself, which includes yourself, right? Can't love neighbor without loving self. There's actually a third. Jesus says, love your enemy. That's the one that people get stuck on a lot. But yeah, it's also loving the enemy and working through the things that have been done to us.
In the queer community, we create family too. Sometimes out of necessity, as when our families reject us, and sometimes because we are just so great that we can't imagine life without the others we love always being a part of it. For so many, family is a loaded term, fraught with pain and rejection, but it doesn't have to be. One of the queerest things we can do is, conveniently, one of the most Christian. Create a family of the people you love.
I would like to just invite you to share how these words have an impact on you. Maybe you really like them, or maybe you're like pissed off because it's not true in your life.
I've found people here in prison to be more supportive than my own family, and I've been accepted more from people in a prison, and that's kind of like, weird to me. Like, how is that possible? And my own family isn't even there.
I'm new to the community because I have a daughter she's bisexual, and she tells me, Daddy, I like girls. And I asked my daughter, where did I fail you as your dad? I mean, where did I went wrong? It messed me up because I just want to understand her. I don't want her to feel like she's like it says right here, shunned. Mm-hmm. That's my baby. I will do anything for my daughter.
Yeah. Are there other family members who are shunning her, or they just don't know?
No one knows. I'm the only one.
Okay. Are you afraid that when people do find out, that'll happen?
Yeah, we both are. Me and my daughter, we both say that her mom's not going to be accepted for how she is. She goes, I know you would accept me because here we are having this conversation. Mm-hmm. So and it's going on 3 years now. She's an adult now, but still, but you haven't told your mom yet? She goes, no. So, I feel privileged, but at the same time, I want to understand.
When and if that happens, and we don't know that it necessarily will. I mean, God works in mysterious ways.
Correct.
But if that were to happen, she is secure in knowing you love her. And not everybody has anyone to know that they're loved, especially a father. That's huge. Thank you.
Thank you.
You would call yourself trans, right?
Mm-hmm. I identify as trans feminine.
How was that journey for you into finding your true identity?
It was really hard. It was really hard to find the identity. Found it while I was incarcerated at Salinas Valley. Salinas Valley State Prison was a really violent prison, well known for, inmate on inmate violence, inmate on staff violence, staff retaliation, things like that. So that's all terrible prison. I never want to go back. But in that terrible prison, I met my friend here, Unique. She was there. She was already out and presenting, and I met a couple of other transgender girls, and I see them being them, and it's quote unquote safe, and as safe as it can get in a prison. It's not safe, but our version of safe. And I wanted to do that. So I started hanging out with them more. We started an LGBTQ group up there, and really tried to make it to where we can be ourselves. And finally I just was like, you know what? Fuck all these people. I'm gonna be me, and started growing out my hair and wearing girl clothes and mascara, and actually started feeling better about myself. Really did. I was in ADSEG at the time when I started taking hormones, and I was taking hormones for I want to say 6 months solitary in ADSEG. So I had no mirrors. There's no mirrors in ADSEG, so I don't know what I'm looking like. And I remember the first day I got out of ADSEG, they sent me to the CMF, which is in like Vacaville, and they have humongous mirrors in the cells. I went from like a cell with like no mirrors to like a giant mirror, and I saw myself, and I was like, dude, like, here I am. I'm here. Like, I made it. Like, whatever bullshit that I had to go through to make it to this point, like, I know I'm gonna be okay. She will like often, like, I love you, Mom, but she'll often like misgender me and call me like her son and like whatever. I don't call her on it just because I know like that's how Mom has to get through this. But it does bring up like some stuff that I got to deal with after, so I keep the visits kind of short because I still want a relationship with my mom. You know, I love my mom, and she obviously loves me. She comes to see me like once or twice a month, so it's cool. When
you told her, you know, I go by she, her now, I'm a trans woman now, well, how did she react?
It was a surprise. Remember, I started the hormones in ADSEG, so there's no visits in ADSEG. And then I finally got to a prison close enough south where she could visit me, and she's like, I'm coming on Friday. And I was like, oh, crap. So now I got to tell Mom. And I was like, hey, I just don't want you to be freaked out in like the visiting room because I'd already been on estrogen for like a year. I look different. My hair looks different. I take estrogen, and my body obviously is changing. And this is who I am. And she was just like, oh, okay, see you Friday. And then like click. And then like Friday came. I even got called out to visit because they're like, well, you have the appointment. And I sat there in that visiting room and I waited for like an hour, seeing everybody's like families come in. I don't know why the fuck they let me in the visiting room if my visitor wasn't there, but they did. And then just sat there and waited. And they're like, wait, they said nobody's at the gate for you. You still want to stay here? And I'm like, no, it's okay. And it hurt a lot. I don't think I talked to my mom for like 4 or 5 months, but I also recognize like as much as shit that I had to deal with, like she had to deal with something too. I think I needed that kind of ouchness to kind of solidify like, are you sure this is you? And when I didn't like reel back into like being obedient and following my parents, you know, and the Bible and all that, I'm like, oh, I guess this is me. Like, I'm gonna still be me.
When did you find that forgiveness for your mom?
The first time she came to visit me was like, I think it was here at RJD, 2022. And she just kind of like, it was hard for her to look at me, but she just gave me a big hug and she was like, I love you. And like, we had a conversation and she stayed for like an hour and she just was really, really adamant. I'm like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, like a lot. Give you a big hug, big kiss. And so I'm like, okay, like we're all human. Like, I don't need my lifestyle to be accepted by anyone. Like, I'm good with myself. That's my mom. I'm going to love her no matter what, because she obviously loves me no matter what. I'm in prison. The reciprocation of like that love is what helped me.
How much more time do you have in here?
I'm a lifer. I was supposed to get out, I think it was September of 2023. And I've had to waive my parole board for a total of 5 years so far. Just like literally like a week or two, I waived it for 3 years just because being in prison is not like super easy. You know, like I get bored, I get frustrated, I try to find like ways to cope. And, you know, the ways that I was finding to cope, you know, the guards do their job and they say, hey, you know, allegedly we find you with this and allegedly we find you with that. So I can't have all these allegations hanging over my head and go to the parole board where they deny me for like 7-10 years. I'd rather deal with the allegations and like hopefully beat them or not, if whatever is the case, like, but have all that resolved and then go to parole board and see what they say.
Does part of you want to stay here?
It's scary to get out. It's very scary. I didn't think that I would be like that institutionalized. Like when I came into Slingers Pass level 4, those are dudes who've been like 20 years down, 30 years down. They're like, oh, I'm never going home, homie. Like life is life. I believed it. And it's very scary. Yeah. Just because I don't have yet too many like friends like me on the streets. Yeah, part of me wants to stay just because I know it's not scary. I'll get out. And like, you know, the wake up call that I've been going through this past year, like dealing with the cops, dealing with like consequences for things that I did or didn't do. It made me realize like, dude, I don't want to fucking stay here for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be 20 years in, 30 years in. That's not me. I'm gonna get out. But it's scary. It's scary as hell.
Growing up in the foster system, it is easy for me to attach to someone that when you're in a group home, whoever is next to you, like that's your ace. So this is like extremely comforting for me to have like someone that I can talk to and
I had been in violent situations and like had to protect each other, or she had to protect me, or I had to protect her, whatever the case may be. Like, it happens, it's prison. So knowing, like, at the end of the day, like, dude, if I got this individual next to me, like, nobody can harm me. If I go through something terrible, I know that I'll go through the terrible thing and have you to talk to. Like, at the end of the night, you know, cellmates, it's, man, invaluable. I promise you I wouldn't be alive if I didn't have Unique. Like, I promise you. Yeah, Dr. Bar, she's awesome, man. She's fucking dope.
She puts on like hosts, I guess, like all of the LGBTQ stuff. So super grateful of her, like her support.
You're giving us a space to, at least for a few minutes of the year, live as ourselves and be comfortable. Like, thank you.
Words can't describe the power of what you do and the lives that you have changed. But how does it feel, you know, hearing them speak like that about you?
Well, as you can tell, I usually don't cry at work. I love what I do. You know, we do a lot of different events. This is, for me, a very special thing. And so, you know, I just am very moved by the impact that it has. And it's not, you know, when I do something, and this being one of the things, it's not always easy to do in a prison. And if I ever, again, start feeling sorry for myself of how hard I'm working, to hear your all stories of how hard it is for you, right, is, I can't complain. And so to be able to do this, and I certainly don't do this alone, you know, I get the credit, but there's many people who do that, Dr. Slimowitz, and many behind the scenes that put this together. And we do this without any funds. So there are no funds for this. We have an LGBTQ unit here at RJD, but we are not staffed for one. And so if I ever, you know, complain, they would say, well, don't do it. You don't have to have one. But we've always seen it as very important to do. And so we've concentrated on doing that.
Where does your love for our community and your, you know, where does that come from?
So I'll share this, but we can talk about whether I want to.
Yes.
I have a transgender daughter, and I don't know if you all know, you might have heard. It's not a secret per se, but it's not something that I advertise at work. And so she's 13, and she's been who she was, and she was, gosh, and she could talk. And so that changed everything for me. As a psychologist, I can understand it, but that's my child. And so, you know, obviously I wouldn't ever want her to be in prison, right? But fighting for equality in here translates to equality for her on the outside. Yeah, sorry. So, that's where my passion obviously comes from, because again, it's my child, and so, you know, sometimes it's again, it's hard for me to say this out loud, having you here, in terms of it's hard for me to share that, and yet you have the courage to live that, you know, and all I would have to do is say it. And so again, it's not a secret, and some colleagues know, but it's not something that I sort of advertised, and at times have taken heat for that, if you would. I used to be the EEO coordinator, and at times would be accused of going one way or another for a staff EEO complaint because of my daughter, which is ridiculous, because I'm also, you know, a lot of other EEO things, right? I'm human, and I'm a woman, and I'm a woman of color, so a lot of those things, but you know, that, and so I sort of try to balance that, because I'm also very passionate about the other things that we do in here. You know, we do a suicide prevention event, and we do events with pre-release, but obviously this is, you know, again, special.
This is, for all intents and purposes, like my new family. This is my sister, my best friend. You know, that's my sister, my brother. That's my new family. And it's nice that I didn't have to stick with the family that I was born into. Rather, I could like change and like evolve into something where I felt I belong.
Sorry, I'm getting it out. Sorry. Thank you so much.